I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife cheated on me. Honestly, I always thought we had a solid marriage. We were married for 8 years, and sure, there were little disagreements here and there, but nothing out of the ordinary. I was a bit blindsided looking back now. Still, I want to get this all out, so here goes. Her name's Lisa. She's a fiery, stubborn woman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper attitude. She's gorgeous, sure, but she's also got that bitchy edge that she wears like armor. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. We met in college, started dating, and it seemed like everything clicked until it didn't. Or at least until I started noticing things. At first, it was small stuff. She'd come home from her appointments with her dermatologist, Dr. Carter, and be oddly secretive about it. She'd brush me off when I asked what they talked about, say it was just skincare, but I noticed her phone was more glued to her hand. Her texts were more frequent, and she'd get defensive if I tried to glance at her screen. Honestly, I should have seen the signs then. I'm not stupid, but I was busy with work and not paying enough attention. Then came the visits to the dermatologist. Lisa's acne had been a problem for years, and she finally decided to get serious about it. She'd go to Dr. Carter every couple of weeks. Looking back, I realized she was hiding more than just acne treatments. I'd find her sneaking out at odd hours, saying she forgot something at the clinic or that she needed to pick up a new medication. The first time I went with her just to surprise her, I noticed how she'd flirt with the staff, especially Dr. Carter. I remember feeling a weird knot grow in my stomach, but I brushed it off as jealousy or me being paranoid. Things got worse when I started noticing her phone more. She'd lock it, hide it, and get defensive if I tried to look. Once, I caught her deleting messages, something about meeting him outside of the clinic and taking care of things that made no sense. I didn't confront her right away. I was scared of what I might find. Instead, I kept quiet, hoping it was just a misunderstanding, maybe. Just a doctor-patient thing, but deep down I knew I wasn't being told the truth. Then one night I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone. I saw a message pop up from her that made my stomach drop. It was from someone named Ben, and it wasn't professional. It was flirty, suggestive, talking about meeting up later and how he couldn't wait to see her again. My heart pounded. I felt sick. I stared at it, trying to convince myself it was nothing, but I knew. I just knew. The pieces clicked into place. She'd been lying all along. The visits, the secret texts, the flirtation with Dr. Carter. She was cheating on me with her dermatologist. That's when I started digging more. I found out from a couple of the clinic staff, people I'd never thought I'd be talking to, that Lisa and Dr. Carter had been seen outside the clinic, going to dinner, even spending weekends together. I got the proof I needed, and it was worse than I imagined. They'd been sneaking around, lying to my face, and I was left reeling. I'm not proud of how I reacted next, but I confronted her the very next day. That's when she started lying again, calling me paranoid, accusing me of being jealous or insecure. She said it meant nothing, that Dr. Carter was just a friend who was helping her with her skin, that I was overreacting. But I knew better. I saw the pictures, the messages, the way she'd act in private. It was no innocent doctor-patient relationship. It was something more, something I didn't sign up for. The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt even more was how she spun it, how she refused to own up to what she'd done. She called me crazy, said I was imagining things, that I was being controlling. I remember feeling so angry, so heartbroken. I didn't sleep that night, just lying there, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd uncovered. My mind was racing, dealing with the shock, the betrayal, the disgust. I don't know if I'll ever fully get over that feeling, like your world crumbles in an instant. That's where I am now, just trying to figure out what to do next. After that confrontation, everything changed. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, a mix of rage, sadness, and pure disbelief. I kept telling myself I should have seen it coming, but deep down, I hadn't wanted to face the truth. I kept asking myself how she could do this, how she could betray me with someone she was supposed to trust, someone she saw regularly for her skin. It wasn't just some one-time thing. From what I gathered, it had been going on for months. That realization made the whole thing feel even more sickening. I started to analyze every little thing she'd told me, every excuse, every lie she spun to cover her tracks. She'd always been a bit bitchy, yes, but her recent attitude was worse. She'd snap at me over nothing, dismiss my concerns as if I was just a jealous, insecure loser. That day, I saw right through her. I knew she'd been lying to my face about her appointments and her new skincare routine. It was all bullshit. Her secret life with Dr. Carter had been going on right under my nose, and she'd done a good job hiding it. But I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. Once I had all the evidence, I didn't even want to keep quiet anymore. I decided I'd confront her again, this time with everything laid out on the table. I called her into the living room, told her I knew everything. She looked surprised at first, then annoyed. That's when her real attitude came out. She started with the typical line, "You're overreacting. It's not what it looks like. You're just insecure." Yeah, right. Like I was the one sneaking around and lying. I don't think I've ever been so furious in my life. I laid out the messages, the pictures, the accounts I'd gotten from the staff. Her face turned red, then pale, then furious. Her reaction was classic Lisa, bitchy, dismissive, full of lies. She said she only saw Dr. Carter as a doctor, that it was strictly business, that they never crossed a line. She insisted they were just friends, even though I had proof otherwise. She called me paranoid, said I was imagining things because I was insecure. That's when I really lost it. How could she lie so easily, so convincingly? I was already hurting, but hearing her deny everything, seeing her spin stories, just made it worse. It was like watching my entire world fall apart. In front of me, her tone, her attitude, it was so typical of her. She was bitchy and defensive, throwing accusations back at me, trying to make me feel guilty for confronting her. She said I was controlling, that I didn't trust her, that I was the one ruining our marriage. She kept crying, but I didn't believe her. I felt numb and betrayed, like I'd been punched in the gut. I couldn't even cry. I just stared at her, trying to process how someone I loved could be so dishonest, so cruel. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, her lies, her sneaking around, her cheating with a man who was supposed to help her with her acne. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I let it get so bad. I wondered if I'd been blind, if I'd been a terrible husband, or if she just didn't care about me anymore. The feeling of betrayal was overwhelming. I started questioning everything, our marriage, my own judgment, even myself. At that point, I realized I needed to figure out what I was going to do. I couldn't keep living in this fog of lies. Not knowing if she'd keep cheating, not knowing if she truly loved me. I needed space, clarity. I told her I needed some time to myself to think, and she responded with her usual bitchy attitude, saying I was overreacting again, that I was just being jealous. But I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. The love I thought we had felt, like it was dead, and I was left standing there, broken and confused, trying to decide if I should fight for the marriage or cut my losses. The days that followed were the hardest. I started reaching out to some friends to talk, trying to get perspective, but honestly, I didn't want anyone to tell me to just walk away or to forgive her. I was so torn. Part of me wanted revenge, to make her feel as betrayed as I felt. Part of me wanted to just disappear and forget this mess. The pain of knowing she'd cheated on me with someone I considered a professional, someone I trusted to help her with her skin, hit me harder than I ever thought possible. Now, I'm stuck in this place, trying to figure out the next move. Do I fight for her even after all this? Do I just walk away and forget about it all? Every time I think about her bitchy attitude, her lies, and the way she looked at me like I was the crazy one, I get angrier. But beneath the anger, there's sadness. Deep down, I still loved her, how could I not? But I also feel like I've lost respect for her. That's what hurts the most. I don't know what's next, but I do know I can't keep pretending everything's fine. Not anymore. After that confrontation, I decided I couldn't just sweep everything under the rug, no matter how much it hurt. I needed a plan, something to make her realize she couldn't keep lying and sneaking around. I didn't want to be a pathetic mug who just took her back after she cheated, but I also wasn't ready to jump straight into divorce either. I needed to make her feel like I had control, like I was the one calling the shots now. That's when I started setting up my revenge plan, piece by piece. First, I went full detective mode, digging into her phone and her social media accounts, just to see if she'd slipped up again. I knew she'd be smart about it, so I had to be careful. Luckily, I found some more messages, some photos she'd forgotten to delete. Nothing explicit, but enough to make my blood boil. She was still playing her little game, acting innocent in front of me but sneaking around with Dr. Carter outside of her appointments. It was clear she was trying to keep me blind, and honestly, that made me even angrier. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Then I started gathering evidence to use against her if I decided to go down that route. I knew I couldn't just accuse her without proof. I set up a few hidden cameras around the house, mainly in areas she used when she thought she was alone. I wasn't creeping just to be creepy. I wanted to know if she was still lying, still sneaking around behind my back. The more I watched, the more I saw her acting suspiciously, texting, getting calls at odd hours, sometimes sneaking her phone into her purse when she thought no one was watching. It was clear she was still in touch with Dr. Carter or someone else, and she was trying to hide it better than ever. I also hired a private investigator, just to see if I could track her outside of our home. I didn't plan to confront her just yet, more like gathering intel, knowing her routines, her secret meetings. I wanted her to feel watched, to understand I wasn't some pushover who'd let her keep lying. Funny thing is, I was surprised how easy it was to find out details I'd never noticed before. She was going to her dermatologist's office, then hanging around in town, then going to cafes and bars with someone. I didn't need much more proof. I already knew she was screwing around, but I wanted her to get caught in her own game. Meanwhile, I kept my cool around her. I acted like everything was normal, but inside I was simmering. I wanted her to think I was still clueless, to keep her off guard. I'd seen how she liked to lie her way out of situations, so I needed her to slip up. And she did. One evening she was on her phone in the kitchen, laughing at some message or photo. I walked in, pretending to be busy, but I caught her hiding her screen when I looked. She froze, then tried to brush it off like I was imagining things. That's when I knew I was getting to her. I started dropping hints, making her uncomfortable, testing her reactions. I'd mentioned things I knew she'd been hiding, and her responses got more defensive. She started snapping at me more, calling me paranoid again, trying to dismiss my concerns. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I'd already collected enough to prove her lies, and I was just waiting for the right moment. I wanted her to realize that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. At the same time, I reached out to a divorce lawyer just in case. I wanted to be prepared, not because I was giving up, but because I needed to know my options. Knowing I had that backup plan made me feel a little stronger, even if I didn't want to use it. I wasn't ready to throw in the towel yet, but I refused to be played for a fool. I wanted her to understand that she couldn't keep treating me like I was invisible, or that she could cheat on me without consequences. One day, I bought her a small gift, just a cheap necklace, and left it on her pillow. Nothing fancy, just a little reminder that I was still there, still watching, still hurt, but trying to stay calm. I thought maybe she'd feel guilty, or at least realize I wasn't going to be pushed around anymore. But her reaction surprised me. Instead of remorse, she just sneered, called me a stupid man, and told me I was overreacting again. That's when I saw her true colors. She was a bitch, through and through, and she didn't care how much she hurt me. My emotions kept swinging between anger and sadness. I was furious that she could lie so convincingly, and I was heartbroken over the fact that the woman I loved had become a stranger. Every time I thought about her cheating with Dr. Carter, a guy I once trusted, I felt like I was spiraling into a deep pit of despair. But I also knew I had to stay strong. If I didn't, she'd just keep walking all over me. I was determined to come out of this with some dignity, even if it meant doing the ugliest things I'd ever done. I don't think she realized how close I was to flipping the switch completely. But I was holding back, biding my time, waiting for her to slip again. And when she finally did, I knew exactly what to do. The waiting game wasn't easy. Every day felt like walking on thin ice. One wrong move, one slip-up from her, and I'd have enough proof to blow everything apart. I kept my cool outwardly, but inside I was boiling. I'd spend hours just watching her, waiting for her to make a mistake to show her true colors. And sure enough, she did. One afternoon, she left her phone unattended on the kitchen counter. It was careless, and I saw my chance. I grabbed it, knowing I'd find more dirt. I knew I shouldn't be messing with her stuff, but I couldn't help myself. When I unlocked her phone, I found dozens of messages, some from Ben, some from an unknown number, all dirty and suggestive. They talked about meeting up at some hotel, about sneaking around, about doing things she's never felt. Before, my stomach clenched. I'd been cautious about what I said, but now I knew for sure they'd crossed every line. I copied everything, screenshots, messages, even some photos she'd taken of herself that she thought no one would see. I needed the evidence. I wanted her to see I wasn't just some fool who'd accept her lies anymore. I also found out she'd been deleting messages, trying to cover her tracks, but she was sloppy. She overlooked some that I was able to retrieve. The proof was damning. Now I was at a crossroads. I had everything I needed to confront her again, but I was also thinking about how to use this to my advantage. I didn't want to just explode and ruin everything immediately. No, I wanted her to realize that I knew exactly what she was doing, that I was capable of destroying her if I wanted to. So I staged a calm, collected approach. I left her phone on the counter, but I also started setting up a few hidden cameras around the house. Nothing obvious, just enough to catch her in the act if she tried anything stupid. I knew she'd be angry when she found out I'd gone through her phone, but honestly, I didn't care. She lied to me for months, betrayed me with her dermatologist, and then had the nerve to call me paranoid. I was done playing nice. I wanted her to understand I was serious. I was tired of being the fool, tired of feeling sick every time I saw her sneaking around or hiding her phone. That night, I sat in the dark and watched the footage from my hidden cameras. No surprises. She was still lying, still sneaking out late at night, texting someone. She'd go into the bathroom, close the door, then come out looking guilty. She'd act innocent when I asked about where she'd been, but I knew better now. I saw the proof, and with every passing day, my resolve hardened. I wasn't just going to leave her and walk away. I was planning something bigger. Meanwhile, I started to look into lawyers more seriously. Not that I wanted to jump into divorce right away, but I needed to be prepared. I wanted to be ready for every scenario. The idea of losing my wife, the woman I'd loved for so long, was crushing, but the idea of staying with her and pretending everything was fine was worse. I had to think about protecting myself financially, emotionally, legally. I also began making a mental list of the things I'd do if I finally decided to end this marriage. I'd tell her she was a cheating bitch, that I knew about everything. I'd take everything I could get, every asset, every ounce of dignity I had left. I wanted to make her pay for the years of lies, the betrayals, the heartbreak. And the worst part, I knew she'd deny everything, call me crazy, say I was making it up. But I had the proof now, and I was ready to use it. The more I watched her, the more I realized how deeply she didn't care about me anymore. She was a master manipulator, a bitchy woman who played her little game so well she didn't even see how much she was hurting herself in the process. It was infuriating, but at the same time, it made me want to stand tall and make her face the consequences. Not just for me, but for the fact that she'd thrown everything away for some cheap thrill. With a guy who was supposed to be her doctor, I felt a strange mix of power and sadness. Power because I knew her secrets now, secrets she thought she'd buried deep. Sadness because I loved her once, and now I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative bitch. I kept telling myself I deserved better, that I'd been stupid to believe in her, but deep inside, I was still hoping she'd own up, admit she made a mistake, and somehow, maybe, we'd find a way back. But I knew that was wishful thinking. Now I was just waiting for her next move. I'd let her dig her own grave, and then I'd decide whether to walk away or fight for what little dignity I had left. Either way, I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. It was time she knew I was serious. Time I took control. Because a woman who cheats with her dermatologist, who lies and manipulates, doesn't deserve my love or respect anymore. And she definitely doesn't deserve me to be the naive fool I once was. The days that followed were a blur of planning and emotional chaos. I was caught in a whirlwind. On one hand, I wanted to confront her outright, to lay everything bare and see her squirm. On the other, I knew I had to be smart about it. I'd already collected enough evidence to dismantle her lies, but I also had to decide what I truly wanted: staying married, or finally cutting my losses and walking away. Each option felt like a punch in the gut. I started by preparing for the inevitable showdown. I knew she'd deny everything, call me paranoid again, or try to spin some new bullshit. So I made sure my evidence was irrefutable. I printed out texts, saved screenshots, and even had the recordings from the hidden cameras ready. I was determined to make her realize I wasn't just some naive husband anymore. I was ready to expose her and hold her accountable. One night, I set everything in motion. I told her I needed to talk seriously. When she finally sat down across from me, I laid it all out. I showed her the messages, the photos, the recordings. Her face twisted in shock at first, then she went into full-blown denial mode. "This is all shit," she spat, trying to dismiss everything. "You're crazy. You're just jealous because I'm better looking than you." Classic Lisa, always deflect, always attacking. I stayed calm, though. I looked her directly in the eyes and told her I'd had enough of her lies, that I knew about her affair with Dr. Carter, that I knew she'd been sneaking around outside of her appointments, and that I had proof. Her bitchy attitude turned into anger. She screamed at me, yelling about how I was controlling, how I was ruining her life, that I was a jealous psycho, but I didn't care anymore. I let her rant, just waiting for her to slip up again. Then the moment came. She reached for her phone, trying to delete some messages, but I was faster. I grabbed it, and with a smirk I showed her the latest text from Ben. She froze. Her face turned ghostly white. She tried to snatch the phone back, but I held firm. I told her she was done lying, that she'd been caught red-handed. Her eyes darted around the room, and for a second I thought she'd break down or admit everything. But no, her bitchiness took over. "Oh, God," she sneered. "You're so fucking insecure. You think I'd actually cheat on you with that loser. You're just jealous like always. You're imagining shit." She tried to act like I was the crazy one, like I was making it all up, but I had her dead to rights. I kept the evidence in her face, and her bravado faded just a little. That's when I made my move. I told her she had a choice. She could come clean, tell the truth, and maybe salvage what was left of our marriage, or she could keep lying and face the consequences. She looked furious, defiant even, but I saw the cracks in her veneer. She knew she'd been caught and that I wasn't going anywhere. I could see her panic setting in, her bitchy mask slipping. She yelled at me, calling me a crazy psycho, saying I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything. I just sat there, quiet, watching her blow up. At that moment, I realized I'd finally broken her. She was no longer the confident, bitchy woman who manipulates everyone around her. She was cornered, exposed, and furious. And honestly, that felt pretty damn good. I told her I was done pretending, that I'd had enough of her lies, her sneaking around, her cheating. If she wanted to stay, she'd have to own up, but I wasn't promising anything. If she chose to lie again, I'd walk away and make sure she paid for everything she'd done. I was tired of her bullshit, tired of feeling like a fool. And I made it clear that I was ready to end this for good this time. She didn't like that. She tried to guilt-trip me, to make me feel bad for catching her. But honestly, I'd reached my limit. I just wanted her to know I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I wasn't going to be the fool who gets played while she cheats behind my back. I told her she'd better decide, because I wasn't going to wait around anymore. The longer she lied, the more it hurt, and I wasn't prepared to keep pretending everything was okay. That night, she stormed out, muttering curses and insults. I just sat on the couch, exhausted and numb. Part of me felt relief. Finally, everything was out in the open. But the other part was devastated. I'd lost my wife, my partner, someone I thought I knew. The betrayal cut so deep that I wondered if I'd ever trust anyone again. Looking back now, I realize that this whole mess opened my eyes. I see her for what she really is, a manipulative, selfish woman who would do anything for her own pleasure. I learned I can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, and I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is cut your losses and walk away. Sure, it hurts like hell. But I refuse to be the fool anymore, to keep pretending that her lies don't sting. I'm done with her bullshit. It's time to move on, even if it breaks my heart. The days after that night were a whirlwind. I moved out of the house, Didn't tell her I was planning it, just packed my bags and left quietly. Honestly, I felt like I was finally breathing again, even if every moment was tinged with regret and anger. I stayed with a friend for a few days, trying to get my head straight, trying to make sense of everything. The betrayal hit so hard, I kept replaying it. In my mind, every lie, every sneaky message, every time she looked at me like I was crazy for questioning her. Going through the divorce process was brutal. I knew from the start I wanted to walk away with some dignity. I wasn't interested in fighting over every penny or trying to get her back, especially after she'd shown her true colors. I just wanted her out of my life completely. So I hired a good lawyer and we did everything by the book. I made sure I documented everything, the evidence, the texts, the times I caught her slipping up. I didn't want her to spin some sob story and take me for a fool again. The worst part was seeing her try to act like everything was fine, like I was just overreacting, even as I was making plans to leave. She'd throw her bitchy attitude around, insult me, call me insecure, accuse me of controlling behavior. She did everything to make me doubt myself, but I knew better now. I knew she was the problem, not me, and I knew I couldn't fix her, no matter how much I wanted to believe there was some good in her still. As the final papers were signed, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with emptiness. I had lost a woman I thought I loved, but I gained my sanity back. The pain of betrayal didn't just disappear overnight, but it got easier to bear knowing I'd finally taken control. I realized I'd been a fool for so long, trusting someone who didn't deserve my trust. But I also learned that sometimes, the only way to heal is to cut out what's toxic and move forward. Looking back, I see what I should have seen from the start. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, it was all a mask for her selfishness. She never cared about me or our marriage. She just wanted to play her little games, get her kicks, and keep her secret life hidden until she got caught. The sad part, I still wonder if she's even sorry or if she's just pissed off because she lost her convenient affair. Honestly, I don't care anymore. Now I'm focusing on myself. I've started seeing a therapist, trying to rebuild that sense of trust in people. I've come to accept that some relationships are beyond saving, and that's okay. I've learned a lot about boundaries, about knowing your worth, and about not letting someone manipulate you into thinking you're the crazy one. To anyone out there going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Listen to your gut. If you suspect your partner is cheating or hiding something, don't wait. Dig, get proof, and don't be afraid to walk away if you find it. Because the pain of knowing the truth, as hurtful as it is, beats the hell out of living in a lie. And trust me, moving on is the best thing you can do, even if it hurts like hell at first. I won't lie, this has been the hardest thing I've ever gone through, but I also know I'm stronger for it. I've learned that sometimes being the bigger man means walking away from someone who doesn't deserve your love or respect anymore. And honestly, I feel free. Free from her lies, her bitchy attitude, her manipulations. I finally see the truth, and that's all I ever needed to start healing.